People who change things don't usually tell you who they are or why they're monitoring you. Most people feel uneasy just reading that lie because it alludes to a truth that we aren't trained to see. Influence doesn't always come with acclaim, titles, or grand entrances. It comes softly, having made up its mind, and frequently long before you realize you've been judged. If you've ever felt that certain doors opened easily, or some people took you more seriously than you wanted them to, this isn't a coincidence. It's pattern recognition in action. A lot of people don't know this, but in high influence circles, respect is seldom said out loud. It's kept track of in secret. People who really have power don't show it off. They watch, try things out, and remember, they don't give praises too frequently since compliments are inexpensive. Instead, they look for consistency, self-control, and how someone acts when there's nothing evident to gain. To put it another way, they don't search for charm. They want everything to be organized. This is where things get fascinating and a little uncomfortable because the type of respect we're talking about doesn't come from being remarkable in the typical ways. It comes from being distinct in ways that are hard to put into words and much difficult to copy. It's why the person who talks the loudest isn't always the most important one, and why the person being silently watched frequently doesn't know they're being watched at all. Someone with actual power has already made up their mind about you and hasn't needed to inform you. There is also a peculiar irony to the whole thing. People often misunderstand, or even make fun of the same things that make this person so respected. You are too tranquil, too secretive, too serious, or hard to read. People who really matter are thinking, good, this one isn't doing well. That's when the silent nods occurs. That's when the invites show up without any reason. That's when the way others talk around you changes. Yes, there is some humor in this. While you're busy living your life, and probably wondering why you don't fit in with the usual molds, a small group of very important people are telling you, don't tell them yet, just watch. This is not the plot twist that most self-help books prepare you for. What you're going to hear isn't praise, encouragement, or a story. It's a unique peek into how influence really works and what a specific set of very powerful individuals have already said about you without ever saying it out loud. First of all, you don't impress us in the apparent ways, and that's why we trust you. You don't go into rooms with the goal of winning. You don't start with tales, titles, or too much confidence. You don't put on a show or act polished when you introduce yourself. And that's what makes you stand out. Most people think that you have to be seen to get respect. You seem to know that genuine respect comes from being honest and fair even when no one is looking. People who have seen too many performances to be impressed by them will notice that difference. Others in powerful positions are often surrounded by others who want to prove something. Everyone wants to be accepted, get access, or go ahead. You don't. You only talk when you have anything to say, and you don't talk when you don't. Not because of strategy, but because you don't need affirmation. Not being hungry means you're safe, and feeling safe in a world full of needy people is disarming. It's interesting how you deal with attention when it comes your way. You don't grow to fill it. You don't suddenly become louder or more excited. You are still the same person. Before and after the spotlight shines on you for a short time, people who have seen it before know that you're not acting because of how consistent you are. You don't change who you are dependent on who is watching. You already know who you are. So it's tougher for others to control you, and you won't give in when things become tough. You also don't hurry to show that you can accomplish things. Your knowledge comes out on its own, sometimes later than you thought it would, and sometimes when it really counts. People who have been around for a while realize that quick intellect is frequently only a cover for insecurity. On the other hand, quiet competence is usually genuine. It's not borrowed, it's built. You should also be careful about how you talk about yourself. You don't make your problems seem worse than they are, or your accomplishments sound better than they are. You don't need others to feel sorry for you or clap for you to feel real. That self-control seems like honesty. It lets people know that if they do speak out, it won't be for nothing. In a society that values being impressive, not doing what you're told seems like an act of rebellion. And for folks who have seen how fragile most egos are, such calm rejection shows something rare. Depth, not the sort that has to be marketed, but the kind that stays strong when people look at it. That's why people trust you without talking about it. You don't ask for it, you earn it silently. Second, you know what power is without wanting it. Power appears to come naturally to you, since you don't want to be in charge, have control, or have a title. You don't want to control talks or manipulate results only to feel important. You pay attention instead. You see who has power over choices, how momentum changes, and when silence is more important than voice. You don't develop that kind of awareness from books or slogans. You have to observe them for a while to figure out what really moves them. People who want power generally show it right away. When things don't go their way, they push too hard, speak too much, and become upset. You don't do that. You let things happen before you step in. And when you do, it's not obvious. A remark here, a pause there, and a decision not to respond. Those little changes frequently have a bigger effect on things than loud authority ever could. People who have been around for a while can see that type of control right away. You don't appear desperate for the conclusion, which is what makes this unusual. You are okay with letting other people have the limelight and not winning every argument. That willingness takes away the power of anybody who wants to coerce or control you. Power loses its hold when someone has nothing to fear. That calm independence makes you seem strong. You also don't mix up power with pride. You know that genuine power doesn't come from being feared or revered. It's about being able to be trusted to become when things go tough. You don't use knowledge as a weapon or take advantage of flaws, even when you could. That self-control shows others that you're safe to work with. Not because you're not dangerous, but because you have morals. You manage hierarchies with calm assurance. You don't become smaller when you're among people in power. And you don't get bigger when you're with people with less power. You handle everyone the same way, with a grounded presence. That balance demonstrates that you don't care about symbols. You know that power changes hands, titles end, and only character stays the same. Others who have spent years figuring out how to get others to do what they want can detect this right away. They can see the difference between someone who craves power and someone who knows how to use it. One person makes things chaotic as soon as they obtain them, whereas the other person makes everything stable. You are in the second group, which is why individuals with actual power keep a watch on you, not because you want to ascend, but because you already know how to stay up. Number 3. You don't copy us, and that makes us feel good in a manner. Most individuals spend their whole lives trying to fit in with other people. They laugh at jokes they don't think are funny, not at ideas they don't get, and copy the energy of the person who is in charge of the room. You don't do that. You go around places with a calm honesty that doesn't change to fit what others anticipate. You deal with circumstances based on what you know, not what you believe other people want to see. At first, people don't like it when you refuse to do anything, since it breaks the patterns they've been accustomed to, but it also earns a lot of respect, since it shows honesty in a society where people copy one another. People in power notice this right away. They can tell who bends, who gives in, who mirrors to stay alive, and who stays strong. Your independence shows that you are not easily swayed, and that you are not always devoted to what is easy. That unpredictability isn't a bad thing. It shows that you can be trusted. You can't be bribed, charmed, or flattered into doing something that goes against your beliefs because you do things your own way. People who know how to use influence know how valuable it is. It's not about being stubborn or hard-headed. You may change your mind when you need to, but being flexible doesn't imply losing who you are. You listen without giving up your point of view. You see without copying. You become involved without doing anything. That alone makes you stand out in every setting you go into. People who have spent years learning how to read people's motives and guess what they will do next are now second guessing themselves. They know that your choices are hard to predict, which is a unique kind of power. What's even more interesting is that not mirroring doesn't make you feel distant. It makes you feel present. People may not understand why you act the way you do, but they can feel its weight. They can tell that this person is always themselves, doesn't need anyone else's approval, and won't lower their standards. That sort of presence changes discussions, choices, and impressions without ever asking for attention. And in a world where most influence is fake, your quiet honesty doesn't just stand out, it demands it. For you see systems when other people see people. People tend to get caught up in other people's moods, whims, and loud opinions. They act like the chaos of human behavior is random, reacting to every little thing that goes wrong. every flare-up, and every moment of drama. You don't. You see patterns. You see the hidden rules that shape how people act, the incentives that quietly drive behavior, and the invisible structures that guide people's choices. You are watching and mapping while others are judging or reacting. That skill isn't very showy. It doesn't get applause, but it's a kind of intelligence that deserves quiet, serious respect. People who really have power can tell right away. For years, they've been trying to guess what will happen, who will fail, who will adapt, and who will break under pressure. They see someone who thinks strategically when they meet someone who isn't focused on personalities, but on the systems that are at work. This person makes decisions based on insight rather than ego. You know how social dynamics work by seeing how everything fits together. Just like a chess player knows how the board works by seeing how the whole game moves. This clarity gives you power that others can't even begin to understand. You don't get caught up in small fights because you know which ones are important and which ones are just noise. You don't waste your time attempting to convince individuals who are being led by things that can't be argued with. You move across relationships, groups, and networks with a level of skill that seems easy. That look of ease is misleading because it comes from watching, thinking, and understanding, and this has a kind of power that isn't obvious. While other people talk about personalities, gossip, and first impressions, you have a quiet effect on systems. People notice it, even if they can't always put a name to it. They can tell that someone knows the true rules, like how to see the strings behind the puppets. That one thought alters how people interact with you. They know you're not simply playing the game. They know you're reading the code that makes it work. And that means that just being there changes the outcome even before a word is spoken. 5. You don't compete with us, which makes things less tense right away. Most individuals come into a room ready to compete. They compare themselves to others to see who can do better, or be the best. Every conversation turns into a quiet competition, and every interaction is a test of worth. That's not how you work. You're not trying to get ahead of anyone or show that you're better than them. That lack of competition impacts everything. It takes away your defenses. People feel like they're not being challenged or threatened, which changes the energy around you right away. You are on a different level, and that alone helps other people feel better, even if they don't realize it. People who have power see this right away. For years, they've been around rivals, opportunists, and ambitious performers who are always pushing the boundaries. When someone walks into the room without any signs of competition, it shows that they are confident, safe, and free. You don't need to be in charge because you are confident in yourself. And that uncommon kind of calmness gains respect almost effortlessly. It's not being arrogant. It's being there. People can talk to you without feeling like they have to prove themselves, which is both refreshing and rare in groups, where everyone is always trying to outdo each other. You also know that the best way to have power is not to beat other people, It comes from being clear, having insight, and being able to act with precision when it counts. You can watch, think about, and move strategically because you aren't competing, because you are deliberate instead of reactive. Your actions are much more effective than those of people who are always trying to get ahead. This method has a magnetism that is hard to see. People want to involve you, talk to you, and tell you their secrets since you don't threaten their ego. They feel comfortable around you, not because you act like you're better than them, but because you've shown them that you're not a part of the normal game of one-upmanship. That lack of competition gives you a calm power that no amount of forced ambition or noisy show could ever offer you. When you're in a room full of competitors, you stand out not by being louder, but by being solid and unshakable. Sixth, you are okay with knowing things that you can't explain yet. When their gut feeling is stronger than their understanding, most individuals freak out. They want to know what to do before they do it, trust before they see evidence, and answers before they ask questions. No, you don't. You act on gut feelings and ideas that aren't completely developed, and you don't mind the uncertainty that comes with them. You are different from most people because you can work in that gray area where logic hasn't caught up to perception. People who really have power recognize it right away because they've learned that the most important choices are sometimes made before all the facts are clear. If you act too soon or too late, everything might go wrong, yet you glide through that tension with calm precision. Being okay with the uncertainty gives you a calm strength. You don't have to explain why you picked a particular route, why an idea seems correct, or why a scenario calls for a certain reaction. Some people feel like they have to explain every action they make because they are afraid of being incorrect. But you know that timing, point of view, and little hints are frequently more important than clear explanation. That makes your choices appear easy, even when they are based on careful observation, gut feelings, and a profound grasp of how others act. This doesn't imply you should behave carelessly. It implies you've learned how to calibrate your own mind so that you can trust your judgment, even when you can't properly explain it. Afterward, you let the parts fall into place. People who can't work this way frequently overlook patterns that are clear to someone who has learned to be patient with uncertainty. You notice things that other people miss and make decisions that seem like they were meant to happen. People that are influential see this right away. They notice when someone's behaviors don't match what they thought would happen. They like the individual who moves with confidence, without having to justify every choice. Since it shows depth and skill being the surface level, it's not common, and it helps you stand out. Your ease with the unknown sets you apart and gently tells you that you belong in places where others are unsure, where choices are hard, and where outcomes, not words, show who has power. Number 7. You don't beg for access, yet doors keep opening for you. A lot of individuals go for chances. They knock on doors, network all the time, and attempt to persuade people that they deserve to be in places they haven't earned yet. You don't do that. You don't need to ask for permission or validation because you have a distinct type of credibility that doesn't need to be explained or begged for. People are attracted to you because they see something in you that fits with their own values and long-term goals, not because you ask for it. That gentle, almost undetectable attraction is more stronger than trying to convince someone. People who have a lot of power can tell right away that something has changed. They can detect who is attempting to fit in and who already fits in with the surroundings. You don't need to meet anybody or get permission. People instinctively change how they see you. When you walk with an aura of calm power, real influence knows its own. So you don't have to run after invitations, insights, and opportunities. You show your worth via how consistent, clear, and kind you are. And these signals are greater than any CV or bragging claim. The amazing thing about this is that it utterly disarms people. When someone is constantly begging to get in, the room checks them out, tests them, and occasionally holds back. People will naturally take down those boundaries. When you just exist without asking for anything, they want you there because you alter the mood, not because they have to. You're not another participant. You're a silent node that naturally draws influence to itself. Your self-control also shows that you can take care of yourself. You don't need to be desperate, grab anything, or do something. That security makes people want to work together instead of being suspicious. People realize that working with you is good for both of you, not just for you, which is unusual in groups where relationships are typically short-lived or based on opportunity. This behavior builds up over time. The doors that open early keep becoming wider. The networks that recognize you keep including you, and the trust you've won without having to work for it keeps growing. You don't make the world notice you, it just does, quietly, because you've shown something that others can't fake: presence, depth, and dependability. That type of power lasts. Number 8. You don't hurry results, which shows that you consider long-term. A lot of individuals are in a rush. They want results right now. They want to be recognized right now. And they become scared when they don't see any progress. That's not how you do things. You know that timing is frequently more essential than effort, and that the real measure of effect isn't speed, but how long it lasts. You show patience, discipline, and a vision that goes beyond the present by not hurrying. People who have seen too many frenetic, short-sighted efforts to win are drawn to that type of quiet certainty. People who really have power realize this right away. They can tell who makes decisions for immediate pleasure and who makes decisions for the future. You fall within the second group. You do things when they are important, not when they are easy. You know that some movements take time to settle, some relationships take time to blossom, and some ideas take time to bring fruit. That kind of insight is unusual, and it shows that you are more than just a good performer. People think that you are in charge of the pans, not the looks. Taking your time also shows that you are in charge of your own energies. You don't get stuck in unneeded emotions, take on too much, or waste time and money pursuing fleeting chances. That constraint gives every action you take meaning. When you ultimately decide to relocate, it's not on a whim. It's planned, sought out, and well thought out. Your timing makes you more effective and lets others know that you comprehend repercussions in a manner that other people don't. This method has a silent power. You seem calm and collected when others are panicking. That presence says a lot about confidence, intellect, and safety without saying a word. Those tend to follow or look to those who appear to be in line with results instead than turmoil. In places where power equals money, it's hard to find people who can act quickly. It demonstrates that you aren't driven by fear, the need for approval, or your own ego. Instead, you are driven by clarity, insight, and a long-term vision. That point of view sets you distinct. Your patience isn't the same as being passive. It's a technique. Anyone who sees it will admire it right away, because they know that results gotten this way last far longer than those gotten quickly. 9. You are harsher on yourself than anyone else could ever be. A lot of individuals compare themselves to other people. They are concerned with how others see them, how they compare to others, or what people think of their accomplishments. You don't. Other people's praise or criticism doesn't establish your standard. It's within you, never ending, and frequently not seen by others. You see your own faults before anybody else does. Fix them discreetly, and don't often talk about the work you do to fix them. That amount of self-control is hard to find, and it's what people who matter notice, even if they don't say anything. Being tougher on yourself doesn't entail hurting or putting yourself down. It entails being clear about your own responsibilities, which is hard for other people to do. You have to be honest, consistent, and excellent with yourself before you can really connect with the world. People who always want for approval from others don't usually go deep because they react to things. You, on the other hand, take the initiative to shape your own character, abilities, and choices. That difference is little yet strong. It shines without any work. This capacity to hold yourself accountable also makes you trustworthy in ways that others can simply copy. People know that if you've previously held yourself to a higher level, what you say, do, and choose matter. They don't have to worry about being manipulated, making deals, or being inconsistent. People who have a lot of power are drawn to that type of dependability. That's also why your growth is so fast. You learn things quicker, adjust to new situations better, and think ahead about what may happen. Mistakes aren't excuses. They're information that you carefully look at and utilize to improve your method. That self-criticism helps you see what's coming, stay calm, and stay in charge while others are upset. Finally, this strong sense of self-awareness gives off an air of calm authority. People can sense it, but they can't put a name to it. They can note how calm, precise, or solid your judgment is. But what they're actually seeing is someone who has already done the inner work that most people are currently avoiding. That's why people trust you and respect you without you having to ask for it. You've shown time and time again that your standards are higher than anybody else's. You don't romanticize difficulty, but you don't dread it either. Most individuals see hard times as something to be proud of or something to be sad about. They either make it seem heroic or run away from it because they're scared. You don't get caught in either trap. You see problems as data, signals, and actions that need to be taken, not as defining events in your life. That point of view makes you stand out right away. People who have been in situations with a lot of power, influence, or high stakes notice this because they've spent years watching who breaks down under pressure and who just adapts and goes on. Your connection with hardship is deep, even though it's silent. You don't need other people to tell you that you can get through hard times, and you don't freak out when things become hard. You know that tough times aren't always dramatic. They're just a part of the system that you have to deal with smartly. That calm acceptance shows that you are competent without bragging, and it shows that you are strong, which people naturally appreciate. It's not about seeming powerful. It's about being strong in a manner that doesn't need anybody else to see it. This kind of thinking also makes you very effective. You utilize problems to learn more about yourself, whereas others become angry, frustrated, or theatrical. People who are overly emotional about the situation miss the vulnerabilities, trends, and chances that you notice. That lets you plan ahead, make better choices, and come out of tough situations not just unhurt, but ahead, even if they can't put it into words. People observe this tendency over time. They see someone who doesn't freak out, who doesn't ask for sympathy, and whose judgment isn't usually distorted by short-term pain. It also attracts things. People are naturally drawn to mastery, and overcoming hardship without turning it into a performance is a sort of mastery that few people comprehend. You don't make the battles seem romantic, which makes you seem down to earth. You don't fear it, which makes you seem brave. The combination gives you presence, calm power, and trustworthiness that get people's attention in ways that no showy exhibition could. People who have power know that when you enter the arena, you're not simply trying to stay alive. You're already planning your next move. That makes you stand out. You pay attention to what individuals don't say as well as what they do say. People mostly listen to words. They react to claims, arguments, and explanations, but they don't often think about what isn't being spoken. You do things differently. You can tell what someone really means by reading between the lines, noticing pauses, hesitations, and little changes in tone. You know that individuals frequently say more by not saying anything than by saying anything. What they don't say may be far more illuminating than what they do say. That expertise makes you stand out right away in any environment, because while others are focused on the surface, you're paying attention to the things that really shape behavior. People who have power know this practically right away. For years, they've had to deal with individuals who are good at making others think and hiding their true intentions. They know you're on a higher level of perception. When they encounter someone who sees what others are trying to conceal, you see inconsistencies, implicit tensions, and gaps between what others say and do, and you deal with them without judging or panicking. That provides you a level of clarity that other people don't have, which makes your relationships more calculated, accurate, and successful. This knowledge also offers you a quiet kind of power. Even if they can't put their finger on it, they sense it. They could attempt to disguise their plans, but you can see the fractures in their veneer, the brief pauses, and the things they skim over. That doesn't mean you have to be confrontational with them. It implies you change, react, and put yourself in the right place. That mix of awareness and self-control is quite attractive. You also don't fall into the trap of overthinking. You don't try to make sense of things that don't make sense, but you also don't disregard signs. That balance gives you an edge that is hard to see. You know the room, the participants, and the dynamics better than anyone else, but no one knows how much you see. People who have true power know it when they see it. They realize that someone who observes what isn't stated as a map of the area that they may not completely understand, and that knowledge is a rare, quietly powerful type of power. Number 12. We appreciate you since you don't need us. Most individuals do things because they need to. They look for acceptance, relationships, or chances because they think they need them to be whole. No, you don't. You come from a position of having plenty. You are entire, self-sufficient, and sure of your own worth. This independence alters everything. People who have power know this right away. They can see that you aren't trying to get them to accept you, change your mind, or feed in with their expectations. That lack of reliance is attractive because it shows that you are real, strong, and in control of yourself, things that can't be faked or forced. When you talk to other people, you do it on purpose. You aren't doing this for money or out of fear or desire. You only engage because it fits with your beliefs, judgment, or vision, not because you need anything. People naturally appreciate your presence when you are so clear. People don't feel tense, insecure, or like they have to fight for dominance when they talk to you, because they know you won't let them. You are immovable, and that stability makes others feel weak. This independence also gives you more power in a society where most people act out of need. When you don't require anybody else's approval or affirmation, every choice you make is important. Your actions aren't concessions. They're choices based on knowledge, a plan, and honesty.